Hey guys, this is the mind of Lilith, and thank you for joining me today. I wanted to discuss this article that I found on News One about Atlanta and its homelessness problem. And the article is titled, How is Atlanta Wakanda when 86% of its homeless are Black? You can't call yourself Wakanda when the poor and homeless are Black and all the good jobs are going to white men. He forgot to mention Hispanic and Asian men too. Okay. But anyway, the article was written by Bilal G. Morris, the senior editor at News One, and I'm going to read it now. So he says, young Black people love them some Atlanta. I've heard it called the Mecca for young Black professionals, and believe it or not, there have been comparisons to the fictional city of Wakanda. There is no question Atlanta is a bustling city. It is one of the fastest growing cities in America. According to this U.S. Census, Atlanta grew by more than 75,000 people in 2019. The city estimates by 2040 there could be 1.2 million people living within city limits. Atlanta's celebrity culture and its business-first mindset make it a desirable location for Black folks looking for a better life, and therein lies the problem. Because celebrities do not have any skills, not any real skills that are necessary for the community. And celebrity culture is very exploitative, right? Rappers are not necessary in our community. Singers and drug dealers and booty poppers and strippers, they're not necessary. They don't add any value to the Black community. Period. They don't. We don't need a million rappers, entertainers, athletes. We don't need all that. That's the problem. We're focused too much on the entertainment culture in our community. It's been an issue since the 80s and the 90s. Period. We think the only way to become successful is to be an entertainer. Is to be on TV. Is to be a rapper and a dancer. You can't pass down rapping, dancing skills to your kids. You can't do that. Most times it doesn't work. Name me one rapper who passed down wealth to his children besides Jay-Z and 50 Cent. This is out of the hundreds of thousands of rappers there are. Aspiring rappers, successful rappers, whatever. How many of them have passed down legacy and wealth to their children? Most of them don't even own their masters, right? So I'm not saying that you can't make money as a celebrity, but the culture of celebrity. Antonio Moore and Yvette Carnell talked about this with the ADOS movement, okay? Entertainers are basically used to sell the illusion of Black success and wealth in this country. Black people do not have any wealth in this country. LeBron James is not Black people. He's one Black man with 3 Black kids, a wife, and that is it. Yes, he has opportunities in schools, but he is not a wealth-making institution. He's just not. He's a basketball player with a lot of money, okay? And our entertainers are the most financially or physically successful people in our community. Yes, we have some entrepreneurs like Robert Smith, and we even have inventors and engineers and investors in our community, but we're still less than 2% of the wealthy in America. Oprah is not Black people. So what ends up happening is that we see the same old Black folks with $1 billion and we think, oh, we making it now. That is not the case. That is an illusion. Okay, that's a falsehood to sell Black people on the idea of becoming celebrities and entertainers instead of tradesmen, educators, professionals like our ancestors were in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We had an economic infrastructure prior to integration that was a vehicle and an engine for us to become middle class, right? But what ended up happening is that after the jealous, broke white supremacists from Europe burned down our situations in this country, they started to poison our culture with the idea that we can all become OJ. We can all become Michael Jackson or Whitney Houston or Michael Jordan, right? We don't have to be professionals and build our own cities. No, all we have to do is integrate into the system, get a nice, good old corporate job, a good old city job, right? And then we're set. Forget building your own, rely on the system. That is what civil rights was about, okay? Integration within, it was economic integration, basically social and economic integration. But what wasn't told was that our people were already very independent prior to integration. Social integration, in my opinion, was more for the celebrity class, the black celebrity class who wanted to marry white folk and get white money and perform at white establishments, right? That was for them. So what ended up happening was that the black celebrity or the court jesters, okay, in our community, they became the face of civil rights. They became the face of the black plight, right? But they were the ones who would benefit the most from integration, not us. Not the average black folk who has a regular job, who's not famous, who's not interested in having a seat at the table. No, we wanted to have our own shit. Some of us, we had our own little cities. We had our own schools. We had our own stores. We had our own banks. We had our own hospitals. We did not need to integrate. Integration was for the black celebrity. It was not for the black average person, middle class professional. It was not. Okay. And then at some point, the preacher, the pastor of the mega church became the black celebrity too, right? So now we have black folks giving people like TD Jakes and what's his name, Creflo Dollar and Eddie Long millions of dollars a year. And instead of these pastors taking millions of dollars a year to build affordable housing for their congregation, like the rabbis do in New York, they're buying $67 million jets with your money as you live in squalor. And they tell you things to keep you in squalor. They tell you to worship their God and give your money to them because God has a fee. If you want to get into heaven, you got to pay me to do that. So we pay these pastors generation after generation after generation, give them tithes while we receive nothing but hope in return. So you're going to suffer. You're going to be cursed by your own ignorance. The universe does not have any mercy for stupidity. We have been stupid for decades. I'm sorry, not all black people, because there are some black folks who are successful. I'm not talking about the individual. I'm talking about collectively. Collectively, as a people, we have not learned our lessons at all. And we will continue to be punished for our ignorance and our hard-headedness. So we didn't learn about the hard-headed ass Pharaoh in the Bible? Not listening to the warnings? Warning after warning after warning after warning, decade after decade after decade. These mega church preachers living in multi-million-dollar mansions, and your community is in squalor, and you still give them money. That is stupidity, that is cowardice, and that is laziness. And that's treachery too. You're betraying your children by putting them in the same system that kept you and your ancestors imprisoned, that kept you and your ancestors oppressed and subjugated. 86% of homeless people in Atlanta are black. Okay, let me continue with the article. With 52% of Atlanta's population being black, one could assume all this growth means black folks in Atlanta should be winning, but sadly they are not. The perception is nothing like its reality. Right. Perception equals celebrity. Okay, because the average person can't see how the average black person lives. We can only see Oprah. We can only see Tyler Perry. We can only see, Jay-Z, Diddy. We can only see just a few of them. Okay, so the perception that's created by the media is nothing like the reality. This is one of the reasons why I never liked watching Real Housewives of Atlanta, because I know people like that who just floss and stunt but bring nothing to the table but flossing and stunting. I'm not impressed with your money. What are you doing for your community? Why should I be impressed with your baggage and that's not something to aspire to for me. Yes, money is important, but guess what? Money is not a character trait. Money is not your personality. And when you make it your whole identity, you become whack. You become disconnected. You become a narcissist like Nene Leakes, right? I'm not saying all celebrities are bad. There are some celebrities doing wonderful things in their communities. That's a wonderful thing. I'm talking about the large majority of black folk in Atlanta who have something. But what do? They dangle it like a carrot to the people who have nothing, right? Maybe that's the case. Or there are a bunch of big buff black men in Atlanta who don't have any skills besides popping pills and selling their penis to the highest bidder, right? There are so many black men in the sex industry in Atlanta, and the women too. That's the economy. You have a whore economy. Is that what's happening? All these muscles for what? You can't build anything. You got little ass Mexicans who are shorter, who look smaller, right? They just get here, they can barely speak English, and they're learning all these trades. Electrical work, plumbing, construction, painting, all of these opportunities for Black men to get up off their ass, learn a skill, and do some work. That doesn't require you to rap on a microphone, okay? Sell drugs, dance, be an athlete. Like, this shit it's crazy out here. You're going to be punished for your laziness and stupidity. We are going to be punished for laziness and stupidity generation after generation. What the article did not mention is that while the average African American owned business is valued at $58,000, right? The average Latino business is about 9 times more. Remember the POC coalition, the Black and brown people we supposed to be together, they're suffering with us. They're worth 9 times more than you Black folk. On average, white businesses are worth $600,000. And on average, Asian businesses are worth $700,000. So Black folk are like at the very, okay, we're going to, let me just go back. We spend our money with everybody else but us. So why are we surprised here? There is no surprise here. You shouldn't complain either. I'm upset because we're acting as if, oh my God, this is racism. No, this is partially racism, but a lot of it is self-hatred and stupidity. A failure to learn from past mistakes. A refusal to see things how they are and to take accountability for your actions. That is what it is here. You cannot keep blaming white supremacy when we see celebrities flossing and stunting with all this money. We saw what happened with the PPP loans. All these people got money, so-called bootleg reparations, $20,000 a piece. What was the first thing they did with this money? They got the crab boils or seafood boils or whatever, and they went to the Gucci store. We saw them on Instagram, on social media, lines out the door. So if you want to identify the problem, analyze the difference between how we spend our money, right? Our economic model, and how other communities spend their money and how they build together. We don't build together. Again, Creflo Dollar has a $67 million private jet with a mansion. $67 million can build at least 15 apartment complexes with maybe 40 or 50 units per piece in each complex, housing thousands of Black families. That one jet could have done that. And that money didn't come from his businesses. It came from his constituents, his community. He's been fleecing his congregation for decades. So has T.D. Jakes. So have these other poverty pimps. Okay? And we keep giving them our money, right? We keep giving these racist Asians our money who don't like us, but we buy their hair, we buy their nails, we buy their beauty supply products to look attractive to men who don't really fuck with us like that, just to keep it 100. We spend our money with them. They don't like us, right? We brag about working for white corporations. Go on LinkedIn and see what you see. Black Greek organizations, people with the letters behind their name, bragging about their sororities and fraternities they've joined, and then about the job title they have, their senior position here and there at this white corporation. That's what we do. We floss and we stunt and we brag and we look down on our other folks. See, I'm not like these other Black people. I'm better than them. Look at my car. Look at my house. Look at my degrees. That's what we do. That's not white supremacy. That is selfishness, a lack of accountability, greed, spite, and vindictiveness. So guess what? We will continue to suffer as a collective. Yes, there'll be some of us who have money. That's what's up. Some of us have money. That's awesome. I am very proud of women and men in the Black community who have managed to become successful. I'm just so proud of that because it's hard for them to do this. It's hard for us to build as a community because we have so many obstacles against us, not just white supremacy, but we have to fight against our own trauma in many cases. We have to overcome our own trauma to become successful. So we're overcoming trauma and poverty and lack of resources and lack of support. So I will never talk shit about somebody who went to college or who got a trade and they're very successful now. I'm just not doing that, right? However, we have to really have an honest conversation about how our feelings towards each other affects our economics, okay? So I'm going to say this. You cannot build with everybody. You cannot build with everybody. body, because there are some people who have an entitlement mentality. There are some people who want you to do all the work and they just sit back and collect the reward. We know this. I know how hard some successful people have fought to bring their family members along with them, to put them up on game, to help them out. I know that for a fact. And what ends up happening is that the poor people who did not work hard enough to get the success that they think they deserve, they're entitled to, what they do is they've adopted the celebrity mindset too. I just want the money to floss and stunt. Not because I've earned it, but because I want to look good for my friends. I want to show off. Some of these celebrities give their relatives hundreds of thousands of dollars in support. And these relatives who are entitled with their celebrity mindset squander the money. So I can see both sides of the coin. This is not only the celebrity's fault, right? This is a collective issue within our community. We have Black folks who want to help, who can't help because a lot of us are lazy. A lot of us are entitled. A lot of us are bitter and jealous of others in our community. We want to take them down. Oh, you think you all that because you could help me out. Jealous of somebody for being in a position to help you out. That's a problem for us. So we'll kill the rapper who's been taking care of our family, right? We will exploit the nurse who's working 60, 70 hours a week, and we're constantly asking her for money to pay our bills. She got to take care of herself, her mother, her child, her friends. Like, she's basically tapped out. So I get that too. We have a bunch of entitled, lazy people in our community as well. Because in my opinion, celebrities promote the lazy, entitled mindset, right? You're getting millions of dollars to just rap. I'm not saying that it's easy to do that, but I'm saying that you're overpaid for the work that you do. That is the mentality. I want to get overpaid for the work that I do, right? As an entertainer, as an athlete, as a stripper, as a drug dealer. I'm not adding any value to our community. So me getting millions of dollars is an overvaluation of my contribution to society, period. So a lot of our relatives, they see successful people in their environment and they're like, well, if this is easy for them, I should have that too. If they're getting money this easily, I want to have what they got instead of working with them. 50 Cent. Yes, he's an asshole, but he's a self-made man. And you got to respect that. And he tried to take care of his first son and his first son's mother. I think at one point he was giving her $25,000 a month in child support, and she didn't have to pay any overhead for anything, right? So she got jealous because he's making more money and she's not, they weren't together anymore. She got jealous and tried to take him to court for twice as much money, right? This is what happens. Instead of her taking a 25 grand and starting her own business, she felt entitled to more. And this is why many celebrities don't want to fuck with people who ain't got no money, because a lot of them become entitled and envious and very hateful when they don't get your money, right? She got it. He got it. Why I ain't got it? So 50 Cent ended up cutting off his son financially at some point because I think he bought out like a sneaker store full of just stocks of sneakers, thousands of pairs of sneakers. He bought the entire store so that his son could have his own warehouse and sell his own sneakers. Instead of doing that, I'm sure his son, who's a sneakerhead, took those sneakers and wore them himself and still didn't learn the lesson, because 50 Cent said he felt like his son was spoiled and entitled. He would buy him one pair of sneakers, and instead of being grateful, he would say, I should have all these sneakers of the same style, color, size, whatever, because my friend got the same thing. His mother convinced him of that. So 50 Cent said, you know what? You like sneakers so much? Let me give you a whole store full of sneakers so you can sell and make money and be your own man like I did, right? Because I want you to have a skill set. I want you to have the mindset for growth and productivity and not leeching off of another man like your mother, okay? I want you to be your own self-made man. So 50 Cent bought a whole warehouse full of sneakers for his son to sell on his own, to make his own money. And that could have been very lucrative, especially with 50 Cent giving his name, his brand, to his son. To be honest, that's like giving crack to a crackhead. A sneakerhead with no work ethic, giving him a bunch of sneakers that he didn't have to work for. Now he has all of the J's and all of the Adidas and Air Maxes and Jordans. His father bought him a whole store. I'm sure he wore those sneakers. And to this day, he's still not grateful. Your father gave you over $1 million of opportunities to make money for yourself. And he's still not grateful. His son, 50 Cent's son, Marquise, is mad at him for only giving $6,700 a month, right? Which to the average person is a lot of money. That's enough money. But because his mother was entitled, selfish, vindictive, and lazy, right? She wanted $50,000 instead of $25,000. So she ended up with $6,700 based on 50 Cent's income, whatever. So even though I went hard on celebrities earlier, I can understand their plight. They have a bunch of leeches and entitled people around them who want to have the easy life without having to work for it. That is a celebrity mindset. That's the pimp mindset. That's the pastor mindset. I'm going to just talk for 6 hours, sweating my ass off to get money out of your pockets. And now I will have enough money to pay for a $67 million jet and a multi-million-dollar mega mansion in the middle of Atlanta. Just by talking. I don't add any value to the community. There's no patents, no inventions, there's nothing. Just wordplay. Easy stuff. A convincing liar. All I have to be is a convincing liar and I'll become a millionaire. Off the backs of my people. Yes, we have celebrities like that. And then we have celebrities like 50 Cent who want to help their family, who want to give opportunities to other black folk. Tyler Perry. Oh, let me get into him. Woo, let me wait. I saw his chart. Listen, I'm not even going to use his chart for this conversation. Tyler Perry's another one of them. You have a whole production studio and you're paying your actors peanuts. Have any Tyler Perry actors and actresses ever gone on to become more successful without him? Or does he want to keep these people on his teat so that they can continue to be dependent on him and aren't competition for him? Is that what's happening right now? That's what I'm thinking. I'll get into him later on because what I read about him does not match up with the perception or the persona or the image and illusion that he projects onto people about being this generous, loving, kind man. That's a trick bag. But anyway, back to the article. The article says, according to the Atlanta Wealth Building Initiative, the city of Atlanta leads the nation in income inequality and lack of economic mobility, which means that if you work at a warehouse, you're going to stay there for 20, 30, 40 years. The median income per household for a white family in Atlanta is $83,000 compared to $28,000 for a black family in a majority black city with all these black politicians, with all these black Greek letter organizations, with all these black celebrities. That's the median income. Because unfortunately, there's a whole host of problems we have here. We got lazy, entitled people, and we have people who don't want to help their community because they want to be worshipped and praised. And they want to exploit the poor. So as long as you are poor and needing a job from me, I can do whatever I want to do with you. Right, T.I. and Tiny? I can use you for my sex parties because you're broke. And you're desperate to get put on. And you're addicted to drugs now because you're living the fast life because you thought you were going to come to Atlanta and become a hairstylist or a model or a singer, and you just got turned out and just used for sex by a bunch of record executives. And now you're in the streets. Now you're in the clubs. Now you're in the nightlife because you were turned out by the industry for nothing. They used you for sex and threw you away. This is what happens to many women and men in Atlanta. There's so many men pimping themselves out for racist white men. We always talk about white supremacy, how bad it is. But these men, these big buff black men, have no problem being cuckolds for white men and their wives. Getting paid $500 here or $1,000 there for sex. Like a whore. Big buff strong men, descendants of slaves who built this country. That's what you want to do with your life. Okay? So it's not just white supremacy, it's not just celebrities, it's not just a lack of opportunity, it's also personal choices too. Nobody has to sell sex. Nobody has to sell sex. Nobody has to sell drugs. Nobody has to kill anyone. These are all choices. Yes, being poor is difficult. It's a struggle. And yes, you want to floss and stunt and look nice, but you got to earn that. You have to earn that. Sorry. So anyway, how is this a mecca for black people? They tell you to come to Atlanta if you're black and you want to make a come up. But what they don't mention is the folks coming up in Atlanta are white. According to the Atlanta Regional Commission, the highest paid industries in Metro Atlanta are all dominated by non-Hispanic white workers. However, again, as I mentioned earlier, Hispanic businesses are worth $500,000, not much less than white businesses. Hispanic businesses are worth 9 times more than black businesses, and white businesses are worth on average 10 times more than black businesses. So please don't just focus on white folk, because every community practices group economics except black folks, Hispanics, Asians, and whites. We're the only ones dumb enough to believe in this kumbaya, okay, racial solidarity, economic integration bullshit. You are supposed to take care of your own first. Your own family, that's what you're supposed to do, period. But because we don't like each other, because black people do not like each other, we don't understand that concept. We don't want to see our relatives come up with us because we want to be able to look down on them and say, I'm the only successful one in our family. That's not always the case. I'm not talking about it universally. I'm talking about it generally, okay? It's not all black people like this, but a lot of us are like this, right? We don't want to share the wealth or create resources for our own community, our own people. Because, I'm going to tell you the truth. Sometimes the people you put on end up stabbing you in the back, because we do have a crabs in the barrel mentality. So I'm helping you come up, and you're going to use what I gave you to now hurt me. We saw this with Love and Marriage Huntsville, right? I put you on this show, and you're going to use the show to try to shit on me. We have this issue in our community, period. It's not just racism. It's not just celebrity culture. It's not just, laziness. It's a mental issue, a mental problem. The disparities start at a very young age and continue throughout adulthood. Black people in Atlanta make less money than their white, Asian, and Hispanic counterparts, no matter the education level. According to Biz Journals, the gap in earnings is greatest among those with bachelor's, master's, and professional degrees. Degrees means you want to work for somebody else. That's what that means to me. There's nothing wrong with education. I have a master's myself. Fine. But most black people get a degree because it's a license to work. Without that degree, you're dead in the water. However, with the degree, you're dead in the water too, because you don't have your own economic institutions or infrastructure. So you have to beg for a job with somebody else regardless. Some of us get those jobs, but 86% of homeless people in Atlanta are black. Obviously, not enough of us are getting those jobs, obviously, right? And one more thing too. When you have a culture where people don't want to get married for whatever reason, this is also the result. Black men and black women not wanting to get together, or not trusting each other, or not loving each other enough to get married to each other. Too much trauma, too much hatred, too much animosity, too much entitlement, too much warped thinking and hostility between us to actually come together to build families. Because what ends up happening is that a lot of times black women end up in worse situations after they get married. There are studies showing this, that when black women get married, they end up worse off. I was reading on Lipstick Alley a few weeks ago a study that said that black women who have children by black men or who get married to black men end up worse off, right? For whatever reason. Now, if you have a bunch of men in the community who don't have any skills to bring to the table, that would make sense. If you have a bunch of men in the community who are dependent on a white man or an Asian man or Hispanic man for a job, then yeah, your woman's going to suffer because you are at the mercy of the very system in which you are trying to survive, right? So what ends up happening is that a lot of black women get married to these men. They become professionals, and since they earn their little graduate degrees, they become nurses, doctors, lawyers, professionals, whatever, teachers, and their man is still struggling because he doesn't want to go to school and he doesn't want to get a trade, so he ends up working at a warehouse or something, making less money than the wife, and then bitterness and animosity seeps into the relationship because the wife feels like, okay, I married a loser, and the husband feels like he's being castrated by his wife economically and psychologically, so the relationship begins to fall apart, and the wife files for divorce. I'm taking care of all the household duties and responsibilities and paying all the bills too. What are you here for? Yeah, so that's what ends up happening. It's a very complex issue. However, like I said, the people who can do something are not doing something. And this is one of the reasons why I did not vote for Kamala Harris or Joe Biden in the last election. I didn't vote for anybody, to be honest. It was bullshit. I wasn't going to vote for her because she's black or she's semi-black and went to Howard University. That is performative, symbolic BS to me. That means nothing to me. And what these black Greek people do is that they use the poor black masses who are not in their fraternities and sororities to elect the politicians that they want in power to benefit their organizations, not the average black person. No, you want your elected official in office because that's your homie, that's your network, that's your crew, that's your team. You went to college together, you get a job with them. So you want us to elect your politician so that you can get a job looking down on us and not taking care of your community. It's the same old cycle of bullshit. There are a multitude of problems here. It's not just white supremacy. It's not just the churches. It's not just, ignorance and lack of education. It's everything together. It's all compounded. Ignorance, laziness, lack of accountability, cowardice, jealousy, vindictiveness. Everything that can go wrong in our community has gone wrong. Everything is whack. Just garbage. So we are not thinking clearly. We don't have a unified shared goal and purpose as a community like we used to when we had segregation, okay? Once we got a seat at the table and celebrities were able to hobnob with the white elites in Hollywood for whatever fees they charged, whatever price they had to pay for that. Once we got integration, we stopped caring about each other because guess what? I don't have to care about your black ass because the white man who I love more than you loves me more than you do. They'll look up for me in their communities. I don't need you to like me anymore. I don't need you to build with me because I can build with the white man with more money anyway and more power. So fuck you, black community. Y'all lazy anyway. Y'all don't want to work anyway, right? I give you $100,000, start a business. You're going to buy Gucci and, handbags and giving money right back to the white man who won't give you a job, which puts you in a precarious economic situation. So this is what happens. Stupidity on every freaking level. And I'm ranting today. Yes, I am ranting because this hurt my heart to read this article. 86% of homeless people in Atlanta are black. Atlanta? No, I never believed the hype, but 6% is insane to me. Didn't T.I. say that Atlanta was Wakanda? What happened to that? What happened to Wakanda? I guess it's really a fiction. It's a Hollywood fiction, a fairy tale. It does not exist. Talking about some Wakanda. Yeah, it's Wakanda for T.I. because T.I. can use his money to get women to sell their bodies to him. Yeah, it's Wakanda. He's feasting right now. Him and his stupid wife are feasting off of poor, broken black women in our community. Period. That's what they do. That's what these Hollywood types do. Exploit and feed off of poor people trying to get put on. So you got pastors feeding on the poor, elected officials exploiting the poor, right? You have Asian businesses taking advantage of the poor, black folk with no businesses of their own, Hispanics doing the same thing, whites doing the same thing. Everybody's exploiting black folk and we're exploiting each other too. A damn shame. So you're going to be cursed. Seriously, we're going to continue to be cursed with our own stupidity and inability to change. We don't even know what the problem is. It takes courage to identify the problem and to say, you know what? What's happening right now? Why am I still giving money to this mega church? Right? Why am I still making babies with somebody who ain't shit? Why am I worshiping celebrities who ain't shit, who do nothing for our community? Why am I willing to kill my own brother or be jealous of my own sister for being more successful than I am when I saw how hard they had to work to get to where they got to get, right? Why do I still feel entitled to somebody else's money? Why? We have to ask ourselves these questions to solve these problems. And until we do that, we will continue to be at the very bottom. We are behind Hispanics in the South. Their businesses are 9 times more valuable than ours. 9 times, which probably means that they're in the trades. What are our businesses? Hair and food? That's it? Not to shit on anybody with that kind of business, but we need more trade skills. We need more men to create their own businesses. We need more men who know how to use their muscles for something else besides touching their meat on camera. We need men to do something more with their muscles besides strong-arming women for their hard-earned money. to take their car. Use your muscles to build something. How about that? How about that? And I was reading Lipstick Alley the other day, and some women were bragging about spending thousands of dollars on Malaysian weave. Like, that's a piece of land that you could put a little house on to service someone in your family or the community in general, right? Why we're wasting a lot of money. A lot of us spend it frivolously. I'm not saying that it's our responsibility to save the world and each other, but then don't do it, right? Don't do what you want to do. Do what you want to do with your money. Do what you want to do with your money. However, do not complain about white supremacy. That's a cop-out. That's a cop-out. That is a cop-out because white supremacy was 10 times worse 100 years ago, and we had 100 times more than we do now. We had less money back then, and we had more segregation. But what we did have back then that we don't have now is group economics, collectivism. We had shared goals and a purpose as a community, right? We weren't backbiting. We knew that we needed each other to survive. We could not escape to the suburbs with white kids back in those days. We had to love each other. Now that we have options, I don't have to love your black ass no more. I can go live in Lily White Land. The white man's ice is colder. But I still need your black ass to vote for Stacey Adams, though. I still need your black ass to vote for Joe Biden. I still need your black vote to vote for these politicians who do nothing for us but give me jobs at MSNBC. That's what we're here for, right? We, the poor black folk or the insignificant black folk who live in this country, who aren't affiliated with any organization, who haven't kissed anybody's ass to get to a certain position. Our job is to make sure that these black court gestures stay in power, doing the bidding of their leaders, of their masters, while they're at the table, okay? And using our plight to further their own professional, political, and economic aspirations. That is all. That's all we're good for, right? That is all the majority of black folks are good for, to keep certain black people in power. That's all we're good for. So it's the Christian church's fault, right? We're giving millions of dollars to these people and they're not pouring back into our communities. But guess what? Why are we giving these people our money in the first place? Again, then we have entitled people in our families who see us bust our ass and feel like they don't have to work because we're doing it for them because they want to live like celebrities like we are, right? So if you're a celebrity, I should be one too. If you give me $100,000 for a business, I'm not going to spend it on a business. I'm going to spend it looking like you, flossing, even though I didn't work for my money. So we don't want to deal with that either, right? There's so many issues here. We got a bunch of big buff black men with muscles who can't do nothing but be bed bugs for white men, right? It's a disaster. I'm going to finish the article, then I'll end it here. So the article continues. How can Atlanta be Wakanda when almost 86% of its homeless population is black? There are about 50,000 kids enrolled in the city's public school system. About 3,000 of them are practically homeless. Atlanta's false claim to be the place for black prosperity is nothing more than a ruse to keep the black dollar pouring into the city. Income equality, lack of economic mobility, and homelessness. He said homelessness. Homelessness all breed poverty. There's a couple of typos here, okay? Which then leads to violence. Political leaders get to use violence to secure the votes and win their elections. Right. Politicians using you just for the vote. They don't care about you like that. Meanwhile, black people in Atlanta are told that the hustle and the grind lead to success. That's what the rappers and celebrities are telling you as they are sexually exploiting you at their parties, okay? That's a lie. For new Mayor Andre Dickens, the issues of income inequality are high on his list of problems to tackle. Whatever. I'm not going to believe nothing until I see it. During a roundtable with media, Dickens reiterated his plan to build or preserve 20,000 affordable housing units in 8 years. He also plans to raise pay for city employees and has other ideas about increasing the city's revenue to improve salaries instead of focusing on entrepreneurship, which is the issue here, Mayor Dickens, not Dinkins, that was New York City. Mayor Dickens, the issue is not just about affordable housing and more and larger salaries. These black folks need seed money to start businesses, their own economic institutions, for trade schools, for skills. It's not just about working for somebody else. Oh yeah, you're gonna, get more money at your job, but it's still gonna be some bullshit because, in order for you to live in those affordable housing units, you have to have a certain income level. So if your income is too high, you can't live in this affordable housing. That's not the solution. That's a game. They need their own economic resources to build their own wealth and to become autonomous and independent. Not more, we need more affordable housing. Okay, but in order to live in affordable housing, you have to have low income, right? So that means that your income is going to be capped at a certain level. That keeps you perpetually poor and dependent on the system, right? That's the game. How about microloans for startup businesses? $25,000 to start a business, right? How about giving some of these hardworking people making $15, $16 an hour for 5 or 6, 7 years, 10 years straight? How about giving them a grant to purchase their own home? Talking about 20,000 affordable housing units and increasing salaries. What? By 10%, 20%? Are they going to be able to live in the affordable housing units if they make too much money? Games. Atlanta isn't a bad place to live at all. It almost feels right to be black in Atlanta. Oh, whatever. Blackness as a movement has seeped into the culture of the city. No, it hasn't. But its economic disparities towards black people should not be ignored. You cannot call yourself Wakanda when all the poor and homeless are black and all the good jobs are going to white, Asian, and Hispanic men. He only mentions white men, but Latino and Asian men are getting the jobs too. That just sounds like regular America if you ask me. Okay, that's the end of the article. Yeah, we need to stop this focusing on white men. We got to focus on these other model minorities that come in and do the same thing that white men do. They take care of their own people. We're supposed to do that. We're supposed to take care of our own people. What's the problem? We don't like each other. That's the problem. We don't respect each other either. Simple as that. So we want these white people to treat us better than we treat ourselves. We want these Asians to treat us better than we treat ourselves. Simple. You don't get a respect for that. You're going to be cursed and spit on by everybody because you don't love yourself. That is the lesson. That's the lesson. It's not about blaming somebody else for what they are doing to make sure that their kids are okay. What are you going to do? But guess what? We don't want to do it. A lot of us don't want to be independent. A lot of us want to be dependent on the white man because we love him so much. We want him to look in our face and to see us. If he don't see us, we don't exist. For some of us, that's the reality. If the white man don't see me, I'm not important. I'm not relevant. I need him to be validated. We need white folks to feel validated in our community. Not me personally, obviously, because I would never. However, that's a lot of the issue that we have in our community. White worship, Asian worship, Hispanic worship. We want to look like them. We want our kids to look like them. We want to go to their schools. We want to eat their food. We want to invite them to the cookout, right? All this other shit because we don't love ourselves. We need allies and support. And even with Kanye West talking about, white lives matter, right? A lot of black people on LSA were like, why are white celebrities only speaking up when the Jews are mentioned? Because that's their job. If they're Jewish, they're defending their own. That's their responsibility. So you want these white people to speak up for you too? To care about you more than you care about yourself? That's the problem. That's so pathetic to me. Begging white folks and white people to give a damn about you more than you care about yourself. Why are these celebrities only speaking up when he mentioned the Jews? When he mentioned black people, they didn't say nothing. Why would they? That's not their issue. We have to do that. And we haven't done that. And guess what? When people try to call us out for our bullshit, what we do is defend the degeneracy in our community. Bill Cosby tried to speak out about some of the problems in our community. We've had black leaders speaking out about our culture for decades, saying how negative it was, how poison it was, and we were like, nah, fuck you. The white man said something, oh my God, he's speaking gospel. It's all facts. Please, with the hypocrisy. Anyway, I'm gonna leave it there. I look forward to reading your comments. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll speak to you soon.